My name is Marisol Smedley, and this is my final paper presentation for the Native Cultures of Alaska class. And the topic of this paper and the presentation is the significance of animals in Alaska Native culture. Part of living with the land. Living with the land is to live in a cycle of harmony between humans and animals. In the early days of Alaska's history, humans and animals were both part of the same world, and we were not separated by cities and technology like we are today. Humans lack animal characteristics like fur coats, claws, antlers, sharp canines, and other key traits, and this made independent survival impossible. It's thanks to the animals that humans have lived for all these thousands of years. Gratitude like this goes deeper than subsistence fishing, hunting for meat and fur coats, or domesticating animals for our farms. Those are simply the concrete aspects. The greatest story lies within the stories and folklore created by humans many years ago in early Alaska. The concrete aspects, like the tools and the food and clothing, they help the society survive, while the greater story helped them live with a strong community and a shared connection to the land. The concrete aspects, it talks about the importance of animals on the physical aspect. These are the necessities for survival: food, clothing, shelter, and tools. There's subsistence hunting and fishing, and there's a connection to the earth itself, not just the animals, but the rest of nature as well. And also the greater story, which is the significance of animals on the spiritual aspect. It's not just surviving, but living as a strong community and culture with a shared connection to the land. Communities created villages, stories, folklore, and other cultural aspects. And there's varying environments all across Alaska. I have this map from the class textbook because Alaska Natives had communities all over the state, so there were many different ecological similarities and differences. And not all food resources were available to all groups in any one given culture area. Because of the diversity of ecology and the large landmass of Alaska, some native tribes commonly had access to resources that other tribes could not access. And these are the ecology zones inside Alaska. There's the Sitka zone, which has temperate rainforests with Sitka spruce, cedar, and hemlock. It also it's coastal, and they have the Gulf of Alaska. The Aleutian Zone has ecology of long grasses and shrubs. It also has access to the Gulf of Alaska and the other oceanic zones like the Bering Sea. The Arctic Zone has cold winters and cool summers. The flora consists of tundra bushes and very little trees. It has access to oceanic zones of the Bering Sea, the Chukchi Sea, and the Beaufort Sea. The interior zone is mainly spruce, alder, birch, and aspen trees. Around the river, it has many rivers because of the Yukon and its tributaries. So around the riverbeds, there's marshy flatlands, which are a common habitat for waterfowl. And the oceanic zones have different access to animals. The Gulf of Alaska has harbor seals, sea otters, and stellar sea lions. And the Arctic waters that includes the Bering Sea, the Chukchi Sea, and the Beaufort Sea, which is home to walrus, beluga whales, different kinds of seals, which include bearded, spotted, and ringed seals. There's also gray whales and fur seals, which are found in both of the North and South oceanic zones, and they migrate between them on a seasonal basis. Throughout the ecological zones on land, there is an abundance of terrestrial animals such as moose, caribou, bears, rabbits, grouse, and other small mammals or birds. This is kind of roughly the same across the interior of Alaska. Around the coastal regions, that's when there's more different types of animals based on how north or south you are. Subsistence hunting, fishing, and foraging was a part of daily life for Alaska Natives. They used every part of the animal. As some examples, the bones, antlers, and ivory became tools and amulets. Whale bones could build the framing of a home, especially in up north, up in Inupiats, where they commonly hunted whales. Both sealskin and whalebone could be used to build a kayak. They could make drums by striking steel and tessine across a round frame, which was commonly made of wood. They also had a little bit of domesticated animals. Some of the northern communities had access to dogs, which had been first brought over across the land bridge many years prior. Based on some archaeological evidence, dogs were mainly used as hunting companions or for defending a home, and it wasn't until around the year 1500 that they had begun using dog sleds for transportation. And it was mostly up north where they commonly had snow most of the year. Here's some spiritual connections. Even though these tribes existed many miles away from each other, we can see how they were still connected through the land and kind of through the human spirit. This can be seen in how native cultures, even across the country, have similar customs and traditions when it comes to animals. And these are mainly customs and traditions about the celebrations, traditions, and customs that are associated with the hunt. Different communities have their own ways of celebrating a hunt, and these were inspired by their spiritual beliefs. One of these was animism. This is the belief that everything in the natural world, whether alive or inanimate, had a distinct soul of its own. This could be animals, it was also trees or stones, also rivers and oceans. This widespread belief in spirits inspired natives to live in a way that honored those spirits and upheld this harmony of humans and animals. One major way of finding harmony between humans and animals was to thank the animal before and after a hunt. This was a practice shared by all native groups. Paul Nadasdy, an anthropology professor at Cornell University, wrote about his experience in snaring rabbits at Burwash Landing. He learned that it is considered disrespectful to think about the animal's suffering. These thoughts can lower the hunter's chances of being gifted with an animal in the future. And this is because if you're thinking about the animal's suffering, then it's also thinking about doubt and thinking about should the animal have really given itself up. There's also whaling celebrations. The gratitude of a hunt is connected to Inupiaq bowhead whale hunts. These hunts bring a whole community together. The hunters give the bowhead whale great thanks on every hunt, and whaling season begins in spring. There are ceremonies during this time where the village distributes and eats any leftover whale meat from the previous year. When the whaling season ends in early June, there is a ceremony known as Nalukatuck. This includes the blanket toss, which is this little trampoline type game with a little blanket. I think it was made of walrus skin. Amulets were also commonly used in hunting. They were believed to be spiritually endowed and would help hunters capture the prey depicted on them. Inuits also carried amulets on their whaling boats, including small stone carvings of the whales. And amulets could be made of stone, wood, also ivory or bone. There's also folklore. Native Alaskan folklore has creation myths and stories from tribes all over the state. Similar to the traditions of a successful hunt, these stories also focus on animals and their spirits. The most prominent character is Raven, a shapeshifter and trickster. He shows up in many different stories, such as the Raven myth, which is a story about the creation of the world and humankind. Stories are commonly about where something came from, or how it was formed, or why something exists as it does today. The spiritual connection between different native groups, including their belief in animism and different spirits, and how they go about living in a way to honor those spirits, can be quite a fascinating subject because even tribes that were settled many miles apart from each other happen to have similar customs and beliefs. And it further shows how humans are all connected deep down. Subsistence and spirituality. Animals have kind of proven themselves to be integral to the way of life in Alaska Native culture. They have provided these two main aspects, which we went over. The first aspect is subsistence, which has helped humans survive in a world where they cannot do so on their own. From the animals, early humans were able to get food and tools. The second aspect is spirituality, which has helped humans live as a community. The stories, beliefs, and folklore and spirituality existed to honor the animals as if to give further gratitude for subsistence. The greater story, as mentioned in the beginning, is strongly associated with the spiritual aspect, but it is also built with the subsistence aspect as well, and the ways that these two aspects work in a harmony of their own. We would not have gone this far if it weren't for the animals, and that's why the spirituality and subsistence kind of work together, because the subsistence helps us survive, and we thank them with the stories and beliefs, and we're more connected that way with our fellow humans and the world. And that's the end of the presentation. Thank you for listening. I hope you have a good day.